Check it out. Just made it to the hut. Would you look at that? You can ride your four-wheeler all the way to the hut. Just got all my gear loaded into the hut, and I'm standing on the deck of the hut watching a deer down on the bush edge down here, and I can faintly hear a buck roaring coming out of the pine block straight in front of the hut. Hopefully that is a sign of a big buck coming out in front of NATO. There is a massive buck straight across from the hut, just going ape shit in the middle of the paddock, pawing at the ground. He's huge, just absolutely massive. I'm trying to film him through my binos. I so can't believe that just happened. I think he's in the bush straight in front of me. I haven't seen him come out. I've sat here and watched for a while. So I'm going to get ready. I'm going to run around the base of the hill, come into the end of the bush with the wind right, sneak into the bush. I got antlers to rattle. I can make a half-assed myself, and hopefully I can fool him into getting in front of me and get an arrow loose. Wah! Well, that was just next level stuff. Sneaking in on a croaking buck. Never snuck in on a croaking buck before, and I've never in my life, even the ones in the paddocks and stuff, seen an animal of that caliber. Its head was ridiculous. We all know what I'm doing for the next 3 days. Still can't quite believe what happened yesterday. Got within 40 meters, got full draw, and I think the wind spoiled it a bit, but they weren't too concerned. They went over the rise into the next basin, sat down, waited for an hour. Then he started croaking again, snuck in on him again, and he wasn't quite where I thought he was. And basically he seen me at the same time I seen him. Then we had a stare down for a good half an hour of just standing absolutely still until the wind completely destroyed it for me and he was off. But that animal's there. I've got all day today, all day tomorrow, and a piece of the next day. Meow. 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 That was one extremely lucky young buck. Just couldn't get him to hold still long enough. This is just starting to get crazy. I've got at least 4 bucks croaking. Every buck has got like 10 other animals real close to it. It is super hard. But just seeing animals croak is a big win for me. I've just pushed that last buck up into the hills along with his hinds. The buck didn't see me, but the hinds did. I'm going to circle back around, come up the ridge on the other side of the ridge with the wind good, and just poke my head over and see what I can find. Exciting stuff. I couldn't resist. I just had to put one on the ground. Can't leave this hunting trip and not have a deer. I've never got a deer here before, and there's deer everywhere. But now that I've got a spiker, it's all about the big bucks. Wicked. He went this way. Whoa, nice blood trail. Straight through the engine room. If you can't tell from the massive smile on my face, I am having the absolute time of my life. To hear bucks croaking and to get the opportunity to try and sneak in on them is just unreal. I've got my meat, I've got one on the ground, so now it's all about big bucks, and there's bucks croaking in at least 3 different places. So gonna get this guy strung up in the tree, and then we're off after a big buck. Job done. Well, this is where it was all happening. I don't quite know what happened, but the hinds spooked out of here, 2 at a time, and then another 2, and then 3, and all the hinds were spooking the same way, and I was hoping the buck was going to spook that way, and I had a 20-metre shot, but the buck ninjaed off. There are so many dumb spikers around. I reckon I could have shot 3 of them today already. Can you see that shit? They're all deer. Yep, all deer. That right there is my lunchtime view from the deck of the hut. Just about to leave the hut on another epic bow hunt, hoping for a big fallow buck. There's a heap of deer in the paddock, straight over there. There is deer everywhere. It is such a problem to have. I probably should have got one of them. 6 months old. Oh, they would be so good to eat. Well, that's that. Another day in the books. Got a spiker on the ground. Stalked in on a fallow buck. Seen him grunting and doing his thing. Couldn't get a shot away. But I got all day tomorrow. And I got Saturday morning. So bucks, look out. When I got back to camp yesterday afternoon, croaking started coming out of the bush where I spooked the jumbo buck on the first day. And the croaking hasn't stopped. He's croaked all night. He's still croaking right now. And I'm about to put a stalk on him. Can you hear him? I'm sitting real close to what I think's his best pad. So I'm hoping he's going to work his way back towards me. I've made a little bit of a blind. Just enough to hide me when I'm sitting down. But when I stand up, I can shoot straight over top of it. Check out the size of the trees this buck's been smashing. That big buck moved into a big pine block that's not on this land, so I can't really chase after him. So I'm going to go and butcher my spiker, get that back to the chili bin, and then I'm going to have some lunch and I'm going to sneak up and sit right where I made that blind for the rest of the day, and then hopefully this evening he comes back and he comes back through that bit of bush and he'll walk right into NATO. Check it out, that's the big boy's rut pad. I've heard that fallow love to hear their own voices, so they pick places like big basins like this is on the hillside to project their noise and project their sound. It's also a good thing for the hinds, right? They can hear them from further away. The huts right there in the middle of that bush, and when the bucks are roaring in this basin, which is 400 or 500 meters away, it sounds like they're just off the end of the deck. That's where the deer have been jumping the fence. So my real cunning plan is to just sit here and wait and see if they come back through the fence tonight for a feed. I can still hear that massive buck. He's croaking way out in the pine trees, and I reckon that's where he jumped the fence this morning. So I'm just gonna sit back, sit here until dark. Just made a cool little bit of cover. I can stand here at full draw and he won't see me jumping the fence, and then he should walk out into my view rather than stepping out into his. If I don't have to move, that's a real good thing. Can you hear that? That is that gigantic buck in the paddock, like 400 or 500 metres away, and it sounds like he's just off the deck. I've seen a heap of bucks today, and I was full draw on one right on dusk. But they were all on the neighbour's place. I just watched them go past. But how cool was it? Got one more morning. That big buck's out in the paddock, and this morning when I've spooked him out of that paddock, I know where he went through the fence. So I'm going to sneak around and wait for him and see if he goes back through the fence in the same hole. And if he does, the next thing you see is that big buck. Well, you ain't looking at the big buck, are you? I hadn't seen him this morning. He was in his basin croaking as I was walking around in the dark. But there was another buck croaking in this basin right in front of me, which I'm guessing is the whole satellite buck. He's croaking here, trying to draw away the big buck's hinds, but I spooked that buck over towards the big boy. So I guess the upside to that is that there's a real good chance now that both of those bucks are somewhere on Ross's place where I can hunt, and if I hadn't have done what I'd done this morning, they would very much likely be in the pine block behind me where I can't hunt. So there was a chance that they were going to walk past me this morning, but failing that, they are now somewhere where I can put a stalk on them. And that's exactly what I'm going to do. And I can't believe that I forgot my face paint. I feel naked. You won't believe it. 2 seconds after I jump the fence and start to walk around, and a buck appears over the ridgeline. And he would have maybe come this way. Well, I've just ninjaed through the 2 areas where I thought that big guy might be holding up, and I spooked a young buck, out of both spots and a couple of hinds in each spot. Couldn't have got a shot at them even if I was going to, but awesome to see, awesome to get that close to. I've got one last little ninja I'm going to do before I go pack up, and that's just around from the hut, and you'll be happy to know that everything is now on the hit list. Well, walking down this track was going to be my last hunt, and I was basically just going to cruise along slowly and glass up into the pines, and when I got to right where I'm standing, the buck that I was chasing grunting on the first morning was standing up on the ridge up there looking at me. He was standing right in there. And then of course there was a big stare down, and a stare down that I won. He ended up just slowly turning, looking back a couple of times, looking around, turning, looking around, and then he just slowly trotted over the hill, over the ridge out of sight. Then I carried on down the track and started crawling. Yes, I crawled like a little baby boy up the ridge, on this side of the ridge. Wind was shit, but I did it. Ended up leaving my pack here because it was too noisy, and carried on crawling up there. This is right where the buck was, and I was just down there standing on the track, and then I continued to crawl up this ridge. And then when I got to here, I started glassing hardcore down to the bush on this side, and I was literally sitting there glassing for an hour and couldn't see nothing. I stopped here as well and glassed all of this basin many times, probably for another 20 minutes. Couldn't see nothing. Took 3 steps down this way and bumped the buck from right below me. Gutted. He ran off up into the cover up there, and I went after him, of course, after a period of time. This is where the big buck was roaring on the first day, and I was trying to get a shot at him and couldn't get it, and I assumed that that's where he was going to now as well. And I was just going to stand here for an hour or more, the last hour of my hunt, and just hope that he appeared on that ridge over there. And there's a whole bunch of 30 and 40 metre shots over there. And then all of a sudden, Ross starts his chainsaw up way down the hill there, and then there's a bit of movement happening in the bush in front of me, but more than one animal. Then I seen a hind, and then I seen a fawn, and then I seen another hind, and then out of nowhere, a buck appeared right in front of me. Not the buck that I was chasing. It popped out right there, like 4 meters away, and I let an arrow fly. I did it. Buck on the ground. Yow! Buck on the ground. Yow! Check this out. These are big gouges from fighting. He's had another antler just smash in there. Can see he's been scrapping hard. He's got broken tines all over the show. Broken guard tine. Broken top on this other side. Whatever that tine's called, that one's completely busted off. He should have had one of them. Thank you, my man. You're awesome. Well, there it is. The most perfect way to end a hunt. All the things I do, all the things I fail at, all the things I learn, all the things that I try, and all it takes is a bit of dumb luck, and an animal like this will walk out in front of you and you shoot him at 3 meters. Either which way, I'll take it. Thank you very much.